New camera, who dis? Welcome back to my channel where sometimes I talk about things. So a couple weeks ago, I got my second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, which by the way, I won't be censoring now because that was apparently just a rumor. Like if my channel is ever monetized, then YouTube probably won't demonetize me for saying words like COVID-19, pandemic, coronavirus. That was just a rumor I heard. I got the second dose of the vaccine and I wanted to share my experience with you guys since I kind of left you hanging with part one. I'll explain why it took a little bit in just a couple minutes. But first I wanted to give my overview of the symptoms that I got. So for one thing, I was not having a POTS flare-up, thankfully. And although I did have some accelerated POTS symptoms, those are also symptoms that you can get whenever you get vaccines in general. But one of the major differences this time with my symptoms, most of them didn't happen until the next day around 3 o'clock. But the day that I got the second dose, I did have a lot of exhaustion and of course arm pain because just got a big needle stuck through it. And so I was pretty sore and I was very, very sleepy. So but aside from that, I was like waiting for something to happen, especially with how quickly the onset was the last time. I was just like, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Ha, anxiety. Anyway, but the next day I remember just being like, wow, that was fast. Like, without warning, I started feeling very, very lightheaded, very dizzy, which I mean, that could also be a POTS thing, but so it's kind of hard to tell, if I'm just having POTS or if it's, a symptom of the vaccine. And I got really, really nauseous, and this is the part where I'm gonna insert a trigger warning. If you are eating or you don't like to talk about kind of, normal bodily functions, but you feel me? Just skip ahead to this timestamp if you don't want to hear about this. Cool? Cool. There was a lot of pooping. There was a lot of pooping. Can't believe I'm saying this on the internet. Whatever. It happens. We all poop. Get over it. It comes with the territory of getting the vaccine, or getting any vaccine, or, having IBS. Aside from that, the nausea was pretty bad, but just in general, my whole body was very, very sore. I never got a fever, but I did feel hot at some points. Again, that can be a POTS thing, but this time around, I didn't have any of the following: barfing, delirium, chills. And something that I made note of is that I did have a headache, but it was not nearly as bad as the headache that I had with the first dose. That one almost turned into it. Well, did it turn into a migraine? I feel like it might have turned into a migraine. I can't remember. But with this headache, it was more just kind of like a dull headache. It was just kind of there. It definitely wasn't migraine material. Like I could still, function. I will say that it did get bad on Sunday, but I was able to knock that out with some Tylenol and a fever patch, and basically I just stayed away from computer screens, phone screens. Another difference with this dose is that I was sick for longer. This time I was sick for about 5 days, but most of my symptoms had gone away by like Monday. However, the symptoms that stuck around really stuck around. The exhaustion, the arm pain, the joint and muscle pain, and the dull headache was around till Wednesday. Like, it was not a fun time. But again, like I said in the last video, I would do it all over again because even though the vaccine is unfortunately not going to be as effective on me because of my health conditions, it's still something. My body still reacted in some way, so if I were to actually get the virus, at least it probably wouldn't be as bad. But I did want to talk about something, and this is kind of different from stuff that I cover on my channel. It is a little bit more personal for me, so I'm a bit nervous to share it, honestly, but I do know that some of you out there have disabilities or chronic illnesses, and you may have had a similar experience. So whenever I was at the clinic, I had an experience with ableism, and it was not good. So something that I want to touch on real quick is that with my POTS, sometimes I use a wheelchair, and it's something that I have been, working to kind of accept for a while, because unfortunately, because of the way that I was brought up, I have a lot of internalized ableism. And I'm just gonna throw it out there that is something that I'm working on. Like, sometimes my POTS symptoms are very sudden. Sometimes I get very dizzy. And sometimes I get to a point where I almost pass out. And sometimes the safest option for me is to ask for a wheelchair. So this time around, because of how sudden the onset of my symptoms were the first time that I got the vaccine, I decided to just ask for a wheelchair right away. I had the same nurse giving me the shot as the last time. So she was like, "Oh yeah, I got you. So she was really nice. She was very accommodating. But whenever I was in the waiting area, because basically, if you don't know, whenever you get the vaccine, they usually have you sit around for a while, everybody, is socially distanced. They just kind of like keep an eye on you for about 15 or 20 minutes to see, if you grow an extra limb. And while I was not looking, somebody took my wheelchair away. So that was great. Like, it's possible that they thought I just didn't need it anymore because I was sitting in a chair beside the wheelchair, and they might have just been trying to get it out of the way. Who knows? But I just kind of wanted to note that I was not asked. And whenever my 20 minutes were up, I was feeling okay enough to stand up and ask for a wheelchair and to be wheeled out because, like I said, symptoms can come on very suddenly. I knew that there was a very good chance that I was going to be sick for the rest of the day, and I wanted to save my energy. So I had them wheel me out to the car where Brendan was waiting for me. But when the lady came with the wheelchair, she started asking me a lot of questions. At first, I thought she was just asking me about my symptoms to see if I was good, like if I was having any kind of adverse reaction to the vaccine. But then she started asking me about my POTS symptoms and how it affects my life. And the way that she was talking to me was very like, And pretty early on, she asked me why I needed the wheelchair and why I needed them to wheel me out to the car, which was which is honestly not her business. And she kept saying, "Oh, okay, so you're just making sure? You just want to be safe then, so you don't really need it?" Looking back on it, I'm surprised I didn't go off on her. But the way that she treated me, the way that she questioned me about my disability and asked me all those invasive questions about my disability, my experience, my business, was not okay. It was extremely ableist. And then the last thing that happened before I said goodbye to this lady, hopefully for forever, we got out to the parking lot and we were still on the sidewalk, and there was like, the little curb and the dip that goes to the road. And Brendan had pulled up, but he was, I don't know, I want to say a good 30, 40 feet away. And she asked me, "Do you think you can get up and walk the rest of the way?" I just want to point out that that tone was pretty much the voice that she was using when talking to me this whole time, when asking all the questions about my disability and asking about my symptoms. Like, it'd be one thing if she was just a curious person and was actually just, I don't know, trying to show that she cared or whatever, but To ask somebody questions and not even acknowledge that it's not your business, that's not okay. Anyway, I didn't answer her because I kind of froze for a second because I have a lot of trauma around people thinking that I'm faking or being dramatic about my disability. And basically, I think it was a trauma response for me. Yeah, I didn't say anything. And after a couple of seconds of silence, she was like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. I'll just wheel you back here. Let's do it this way. Don't worry." Don't worry? I mean, sure, you've been implying this whole time that I've been inconveniencing you and that I don't really need the wheelchair, but whatever, don't worry. And I went home. The fact that there is still such a problem with ableism in the medical profession, like, it's really messed up. And it set me back a little bit. I have trouble asking for help. I am a pretty independent person and I don't really like asking for help. But I have learned over time, and after getting my POTS diagnosis, sometimes you just have to ask for help, and it's okay to ask for help. But I did need some time to kind of process what happened and, have a good cry or two about it. And, rant about it to like my family and friends and therapists. But the ultimate reason that I did decide to make this video and to actually talk about this experience rather than just being like, oh, these were my symptoms, is because we need to talk about stuff like this. It's not okay for people to just assume that because your disability is invisible that you don't have one, or that you're faking it, or you just want attention. And I know that unfortunately a lot of you can probably relate to this. I know that I have some chronically ill viewers, which, by the way, I'm sending you love. I see you, you're heard, and you're valid. I'm just saying. And I thought I would open up a conversation about it, which, obviously still needs to be had. If you've had an experience like this, or if you've had any experience with ableism, whether it's within your friend group or family or acquaintances, workplace, or with a doctor, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to be there for you and send you some love, because it's not okay. And I want you to know that you're not alone. Of course, you don't have to comment even if you have had one of those experiences, because I respect you and I respect your boundaries. That's my story, and yeah. I know this is a little bit different than some of my other videos, but I did want to just kind of share this experience with you. And if you like this video, please leave it a like. And if you want to comment, please leave it a comment. And if you want to subscribe, make sure that you subscribe. I don't know what kind of dance to use to say subscribe, so I'm just gonna. And if you want to get notified anytime that I post, just click that bell. All right, thanks for hearing me out. I love you guys.